There are 24 hours a day, no more, no less. Do you get the most out of your 24 hours? Let's talk about managing time and specifically focus on time spent on the job. This presentation will provide you with some ideas to think about and strategies to try in order to manage your time effectively. What is time management? The way we manage ourselves and our tasks in relation to the time we have in a day, a week, or a year is one definition of what time management is. In other words, how do you organize yourself to accomplish tasks? How do you plan how much time to spend on a specific task? We only have 24 hours to work, eat, sleep, have a personal life, and play, right? We need to play, right? After all, just working is no fun. But we need to be able to plan our personal life and time for it. So how do we get the most out of our time without feeling stressed? Let's take a closer look at what time management is and then consider some ideas to more effectively manage our time. Being able to manage time effectively on the job proves that you are an efficient, productive employee. You finish projects on time, you are in good self-control of deadlines, you're able to prioritize effectively. Being an efficient employee who manages time well will boost your ability to advance to the next level with your employer. Think of the people you have worked with who have earned promotions. Likely they are the go-to person who is organized and an effective project and time manager. There are also personal benefits to being a good time manager. Less stress. Less stress in our life is good, right? Typically, good time managers are able to set goals and accomplish them. Each of you have set a goal to go back to college, and it isn't easy to go back to school, especially if you have other commitments in your life, such as work, children, spouses, elderly parents to care for, etc. Learn to manage your time as effectively as possible to achieve your goals. I think we can also all agree when our life is organized and we feel we have a sense of organization in our life, we feel we are in control and we feel empowered. Again, less stress is good. Just as there are benefits to good time management, there are obviously pitfalls to poorly managed time. Specifically on the job, let's take a look at these here. Money. Losing money due to missing project deadlines or requiring employees to work overtime to get a project completed on time is not cost effective for an employer. Credibility. Again, missing deadlines and always chasing your tail quickly becomes evident to your coworkers and your supervisor. This costs you your reputation and possibly that promotion you have your eye on. Energy. Because poor time management causes stress, your energy level takes a hit. Again, constantly chasing your tail to meet deadlines zaps your energy. Missed deadlines. Too many missed deadlines could be detrimental to your job as well as poor quality work. Work inefficiencies can affect an entire department and work team and leave others scrambling to meet a deadline. Again, not good for your reputation. Take a moment to consider these pitfalls with regard to taking classes here at Madison College. Does poor time management cost you money? It could if you have to retake a class. Credibility. Do you think an instructor would be a reference for you when applying for jobs if you cannot manage your time and class projects? How credible are you as a student? Do you miss deadlines and always ask for extensions? What's the quality of your classwork? Always strive for 100%. Consider how poor time management may be impacting you on the job and at school. Here's something to consider. Being busy is not the same as being effective. Think of people who seem so busy all the time. Are they effective or just frantically jumping from one thing to the next? I'm sure we all know someone who fits into this box, right? As I said at the beginning of this presentation, we get 24 hours a day, no more, no less. Time can't be changed. We can't control time. Time cannot be bought, sold, rented, borrowed, saved, or manufactured, right? We spend it even if we accomplish nothing. We can only manage ourselves and the use of our time. So what skills are necessary to manage our time effectively? Here are a few examples. Ability to plan. Consider a project. How much time will it take to complete the project? What are other aspects of the project to consider, such as needing to ask others to help or requirements from another department to assist with the project? Direct. Get others on board with your project early and navigate the correct channels to get it completed effectively. Are there parts of a project that can be delegated to someone else? For example, if copies of an agenda need to be made, is there someone you can delegate that portion of the project to? Get away from the idea that you have to do it all yourself. As long as you can direct and provide good instructions, there is no reason to not delegate if it is an option. Organize. We're going to talk about some organization tools a little further on in this presentation, but map out your project. Mark smaller deadlines on a calendar prior to the end project deadline. This helps to keep you on track with the project. Keep yourself in control of your work. Don't let your work control you. Effectively managing yourself will ensure this does not happen. We've identified what time management is and what skills are necessary to become efficient. Where do we start to improve our time management? We must first identify aspects of our personal management that need to be improved. In the classroom, I ask students to write on Post-it notes 3 time stealers. What steals their time? So think about that for a minute. And then read these time stealers here on this slide. So socializing. So on the job, typically this may happen in the coffee room or the copy room where you're socializing and talking about different things. And don't get me wrong, socializing is important, but we need to keep it to a minimum and keep on task. Stress is a time stealer, right? If we're under stress, it zaps our energy, it zaps our time. Interruptions. So people who walk into your office might be an interruption, especially if it's not for work situations. Some students say their kids are interruptions, and I totally understand that. Again, we have to be able to weigh the importance of our interruptions. The phone ringing might be an interruption, whether it's a personal call, visitors walking in at home or on the job. Social media. How much time do you spend on Facebook? Do yourself a favor and close your Facebook. Only look at it during breaks at work or give yourself a break at home so that you're not constantly seeing the notifications always coming up. Put your phone away. Firefighting. On the job, I'm sure you have all seen people who just run around and put out fires. That is no way to be effective. We need to get away from this idea of just firefighting all the time, putting out fires and then running from one fire to the next. Acting with incomplete information. This can also really steal our time, not having all the information before we start going. So that's another thing. Unclear communication. Obviously, communication is key. We need to make sure that whether we're giving information or getting information, we understand what is expected. Inadequate technical knowledge. Again, if you're asked to do something and you're not sure how the systems work, that can be a time stealer, right? We can spend a lot of time trying to figure out the technical aspects of it rather than just doing it. How about the ability to say no? This can be very hard for many, many people. Sometimes we need to say no because it's going to steal our time. It all depends, and that's something you need to weigh yourself, whether this is something you can do on the job or not. Lack of planning, obviously, can be a time stealer. If we don't plan well and we need to get other people on board with our project and maybe they don't have time, this can really be a detriment to our project. So we need to be able to plan accordingly. Unclear priorities. Sometimes we need to prioritize many things that are on our desk on the job, and we have to decide what needs to be done first. Sometimes we're not sure. Sometimes we might need to ask. And so unclear priorities can steal our time. Disorganization. Have you ever noticed that if your desk is a mess, you're just not very organized and you can't get things done effectively? So take a few minutes, clean up your work area, and then start. Be organized. Mark things down on a calendar. We're going to talk about a few other tools in the next few slides. Tasks you should have delegated. We talked about this on the previous slide. If there's something that can be delegated, give good directions and direct people and ask for someone to take up some of those tasks that could be delegated. So time stealers. First step in improving our personal management is to identify our time stealers. So think about that. What are our time stealers and what could you do to eliminate them? Using a to-do list helps to keep you focused on what needs to be done. Prioritize the list using either numbers such as 1, 2, 3 or letters A, B, C to determine what needs to be accomplished first. Cross off or remove tasks once they've been completed. Something about crossing off tasks on a to-do list feels great, doesn't it? It gives us a sense of accomplishment. Review and update the to-do list before you leave work for the next day. Realize that priorities will change throughout the week or the day. For example, quite often the surgeons I worked for at UW Hospital would stop by my desk in the morning needing a letter composed for their signature. The letter needed to be ready when they were out of surgery and before their next surgery started. Therefore, this became a top priority for me. I would drop everything and get it composed, typed, and printed so it was ready when they stopped by in between their surgeries. A task rated as a C priority will likely become a letter A priority when the circumstance is appropriate. So your to-do list is always changing. To-do lists can be electronic or paper, word processed or handwritten. It's whatever works for you. But try a to-do list and see how it works for you. Another time management tool is to get yourself organized. And probably the most important tool to get yourself organized to use is a calendar. And you can use either a paper calendar or an electronic calendar or many of the apps that are out there for our mobile devices. Paper calendars have the benefit of being visual, that you can see a whole day, week, month, or year all at once. Some people enjoy using a paper calendar more. I know I do. I like to be able to see what's coming up. Electronic calendars, some people do prefer their electronic calendars and keep everything in them. So whatever it is, that's fine, but choose something and stick with it. Put all your appointments on one calendar rather than keeping track of several different calendars. Also, again, there are a lot of new mobile apps out there. Maybe some of you have used some great ones, but keep watching for those new apps that might help organize your life. There are other strategies to get yourself organized as well. Clean your desk. There's nothing like walking in the beginning of the day with a clean, organized desk. So make yourself organize your desk at the end of the day so that when you walk in the next day, it feels nice and refreshed and organized. And if your desk is really in shambles and you need some extra time, you could do this a little at a time until you're cleaned up. Another great tool is to reward yourself. Tell yourself if you finish X, Y, and Z on your to-do list, you'll treat yourself to a walk outside or a piece of chocolate or a cup of coffee. Rewards can be very motivating, so try that also in your time management toolbox. And here are a few more time management tools to keep in mind. Procrastination is oftentimes taking too long to accomplish low-level tasks to avoid moving to a more complex task. Consider completing this one daunting task first to avoid procrastinating until it becomes an emergency. This will alleviate your stress and make you feel more confident. Try it today. Avoid procrastination by doing it right away. Try it. See how good it feels. Your work area, we just talked about this, but think of people who you have worked with and their work area. Have you worked with people whose desktop can't even be seen through all the paper and files thrown around? I know I have. What impression do you have about these individuals? Simplify repetitive tasks. So think of how something could be done differently or more efficiently. For example, consider waiting to make copies until you have several copies to make, rather than running to the copy room each time you need a copy of something. Think outside the box. Just because it's always been done one way doesn't mean it's the best or that it's the most efficient. Handle paperwork once. What should you do with that paperwork? Don't keep moving it from pile to pile. Take care of it. Figure out where it needs to go and put it away. Compare this to putting away your groceries. If you think about it, when you come back with all your groceries, it's best to handle it once. Otherwise, you keep handling it, right? When you go to the grocery store, you grab it off the shelf, you put it in your cart. Then you take it from your cart, you put it on the conveyor to go through the checkout. Then it goes into bags. Then it goes into your car. Then once you take it out of your bag, find the place for it, put it away. Think about your paperwork the same way. Handle it once to avoid moving it around from place to place. Communicate clearly. So especially if you're going to delegate some tasks, be sure that your expectations and instructions are clear. And if you are getting information or someone is delegating something to you, be sure to ask for verification or any questions that you have. Ask them right away so that you have this clear communication that will help to overcome unnecessary time lost. Do it right the first time. This goes without saying, right? Nothing wastes more time than redoing something. If you did it right the first time, you wouldn't have to redo it. So always strive for 100% professional quality work all the time. Do it right the first time to avoid spending unnecessary time redoing something. Activity logs can effectively show how you are spending your time. Keep track of everything you do during the day, including checking and responding to emails, returning phone calls, making copies, concentrating and working on daily tasks for your job, getting coffee and socializing and gossiping with coworkers, surfing the internet, checking your phone, your text, Facebook. You might be surprised. And then once you track everything, learn from your log. Can some duties be delegated? Schedule the most important and complex activities for the time of day that you are most effective and most efficient. Try not switching from activity to activity so frequently because studies do show that multitasking really is not more efficient, but causes us to not be able to effectively focus on a task and complete it well. Personal activities. Learn to minimize ineffective time stealers. Put your phone away. Put it on silent. If it's not in your sight, you're not going to be tempted to keep looking at it. Close out of the internet and Facebook. Avoid involving yourself in office gossip and keep chatting to a minimum. So keep a log and learn from it. Action plans take our to-do list to the next level. Action plans encourage us to set goals to complete our tasks, such as short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Action plans help us to plan our time and avoid wasting too much time on low-level tasks. And they help us to set priorities and visually see what's most important. The first step is to collect. So make a list of all the things in your world that require resolution. Try to collect and write down everything you feel is incomplete and needs action from you to get completed, whether it's urgent or not, big or small, personal or professional. Some is automatic, such as emails coming in, a mailbox inbox. Consider all the projects that you want to accomplish, even cleaning out that file drawer that has been a mess since you started in your position. This will be a big list at first. This takes all the mental stress away from you and allows you to make a plan and prioritize. Word process this document so you can make changes and additions as necessary. You might, however, like it printed so you can visually see what's coming up. Pruning. Look at the list that you made during the collection phase of the action plan. Decide what, if anything, is not relevant or important in the big picture. Delete these unimportant things off your list. Organizing and prioritizing. This is a three-step process. Review the list of projects. Group together individual projects that are part of a larger project. For example, if you're planning an event and need to create an agenda, decide on room setup, order refreshments, secure speakers, group all these individual activities into an event planning project. Prioritize your projects in order of importance, either 1 to 10 or A through F or whatever works for you. Insert projects into your action program. So the next action, what needs to happen to move this project forward? Delegate actions. What can be delegated to others? Project catalog. List all the projects as well as the small individual tasks required to complete them. Some actions are day-to-day specific and some are time specific. So at the top of the list under next actions, this becomes your to-do list, and always mark things on a calendar so you know their deadlines. This slide shows an example of an action plan, and this shows both professional and personal goals. You can see how the tasks are individual, and then they are kind of grouped into this category of bigger projects. So you can kind of see the difference between each specific task to get that project done. And then there's priority letters on the side showing us what needs to be done first, what needs to be done next. And of course, this list would always be changing with new goals and new actions that we need to do. But it gives us a good start and lets us know visually what needs to be done right away, what comes next, and so on. Whether setting professional or personal goals, we need to set SMART goals. This is an acronym to help ensure our goals can be attained. Specific. Be clear about your goal. A goal is specific. It is clearly stated in 1 or 2 sentences, ideally. The more specific the goal, the more realistic the success, and the shorter the path to success of that goal. Measurable. Will you know when you have achieved each goal? A goal is measurable if there is a specific outcome which is to be measured. Attainable. Are the goals achievable? An attainable goal is a goal for which you see a realistic path to fulfillment. Realistic. Be realistic about the goals and time frames. A goal is realistic if you believe it is attainable. Target date. Be clear about when you want to achieve each goal. Goals can be short-term or distant long-term goals. Be careful about distant goals. If a goal stretches out too long of a time frame, it might need to be broken down into smaller chunks. An example of a SMART goal would be the following. I will secure my internship site by August 30th for the fall semester. This is specific, right? We know exactly what our goal is. The measure would be if the internship site is secured or not. The goal is attainable as long as I do meet all the prerequisites. And this is a realistic goal, again, as long as I meet all the prerequisites. And then the target date for fulfillment of this goal is August 30th. So that's an example of a SMART goal. In conclusion, learn to work smarter, not harder. This presentation has provided some strategies to try to manage yourself and your time better. I encourage you to choose 1 or 2 new ideas and make an effort to implement them into your day, whether personal or professional. With some trial and error, you can make the most of your 24 hours a day.